A discussion surrounding safety on college campuses is ongoing in Chicago. And more specifically, the University of Chicago community in Hyde Park is reeling from the November 9th killing of Xiaozhong Dennis Zhang, a recent graduate of the university from China. Some call for increased surveillance and security in the area, while others argue a greater police presence only exacerbates the root causes of gun violence. Joining us to discuss this topic is Grace Pai, Executive Director of the nonprofit Asian Americans Advancing Justice Chicago. Pai is a Hyde Park resident and an alumna of the University of Chicago. Grace, welcome back to Chicago Tonight. First, what are your thoughts? What's your reaction to this call for an increased police presence on UChicago's campus?
I truly believe that will not solve the problem of gun violence. Hyde Park is one of the most policed neighborhoods in the city. It's under the jurisdiction of two different police forces, one of which is the private University of Chicago Police Department, which is not subject to the same kind of accountability and transparency as the Chicago Police Department. There are tons of police already in the neighborhood, and we know that hasn't stopped issues like this from occurring. It hasn't stopped gun violence from impacting our community. And so I think to try those same failed practices over and over again is not going to work this time.
So then if, added surveillance, more police, if that's not the answer, what changes could the campus make to be safer?
Well, we think this is a problem that is much larger than just the university, right? Certainly the university has contributed to pushing out communities of color from Hyde Park and surrounding areas and has a lot of work to do to build trust and to build and to invest in those communities that it has contributed to making very exclusive, right? Hyde Park has become really unaffordable for a lot of people, and I think the university does play a significant role in that. But when I say it's a bigger problem than just the university, I mean that the city and the state need to take significant action as well. Gun violence results from decades of disinvestment, from lack of opportunity, from lack of access to good jobs, right? People are being traumatized. They're experiencing gun violence. Their family members are experiencing gun violence. And I think that the trauma of that cannot be understated. And so to reverse that, we really need large scale investments in things like gun violence prevention programs, in quality healthcare and mental health care, in all of the trauma-informed supports and care that people really need.
Can you sort of convey the sentiments and the obstacles that students from China might face when they're considering or when they're attending U.S. colleges?
Absolutely. I completely empathize with the grief and the sorrow and the fear that many Asian international students are experiencing. This is not the first Asian international student who has been killed in Hyde Park, and I understand the trauma of what folks are going through. I live just 2 blocks from where Dennis Zhang was killed, and I can relate to that fear of going outside or going for a walk or not being sure what might happen to you. So I can completely empathize with that. But I think that we need to have an open dialogue with these international students, many of whom aren't really aware of the history of the United States, of the racialized tensions that exist in Chicago and also across the country. And I think this is a really important time for dialogue, that there is a lot that those students who are grieving have in common with other South Side community members who are Black, who have experienced the same kind of grief and loss.
Today, at a press conference earlier, you discussed the idea of Asian Americans being used as sort of a wedge to divide people in the past. Tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah, so, Asian Americans have often been used to divide other communities of color. So, for example, the example that I shared earlier today was that of the model minority myth. This very common perception of Asian Americans as a minority that, quote unquote, does well, that doesn't need help, that's high achieving, highly educated. That myth was created by a white sociologist in the 1960s during the civil rights movement. And it was created to uplift one minority and to kind of, work against another. That it's no accident that happened during the civil rights movement when Black communities were demanding equal rights. And that idea, right, that Asian Americans are just kind of innately gifted was used to play down the demands of the Black community. And also it's completely false. Asian Americans are not innately gifted. There's no certain cultural values that we hold that make us smart. It's just that the United States only allowed in highly educated and high earning immigrants from Asia. We had a very selective immigration policy. We still have a very selective immigration policy. And so I think that is the real reason why a lot of the Asian Americans that you see are highly educated or make lots of money or whatever the stereotype is. It's a direct result of our immigration policy.
Grace, have you been in touch with university with, with regard to your organization's concerns?
We have not yet spoken directly with the university about these concerns, but they also didn't reach out to community members really when making this decision. I mean, I think that it's telling that they immediately went to increasing policing and surveillance, which they know will negatively impact Black community members in Hyde Park and beyond.
Okay, and before we let you go, of course, the pandemic has been a difficult time for Asian and Asian American communities with hate crime attacks and rampant xenophobia on the rise. Have you found allies within other communities during this time, for example, within the Black community?
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of the work that we do as an organization is in solidarity with other communities of color. We've seen folks step up when our community has been targeted, and we try to also step up when other communities are being harmed, and that's why it's so important for us to do this racial solidarity work.
More work ahead. Grace Pye, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.